You're working harder than your parents ever did, yet somehow you're falling further behind. Every month, the same cycle. Paycheck arrives, bills get paid, and you're back to zero. Meanwhile, someone across town with the same job is quietly building a fortune. What do they know that you don't? Here's the brutal truth. Building wealth has almost nothing to do with how smart you are, how hard you work, or even how much you earn. It's a game of behavior, not intelligence. Right now, your own mind is sabotaging your financial future in ways you can't even see. You make 1,000 tiny decisions every week. Each one feels insignificant, harmless even. But together, they're the difference between struggle and freedom. The wealthy aren't playing by different rules. They're playing a completely different game. While you're focused on earning more, they're focused on something else entirely. And that's exactly why most people never escape the cycle. In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose the hidden patterns that keep ordinary people trapped in financial mediocrity, the psychological blind spots that destroy wealth before it's even built, and the simple behavioral shifts that separate those who make it from those who don't. This isn't theory. This is why you're still stuck. The procrastination trap. Here's a question worth asking yourself. When was the last time you made a deliberate financial decision? Not a reaction to a bill, not a panic move after seeing your bank account, but a real intentional choice about your money? For most people, the answer is never. They drift through life reacting to their finances instead of shaping them. They tell themselves they'll start investing next year. They'll create a budget after this busy season. They'll read that finance book when they have more time, but next year never comes. The busy season never ends, and the book sits unread on a shelf. This isn't laziness. It's something deeper. It's the comfort of inaction. Because taking action means confronting uncomfortable truths. It means admitting you're not where you want to be. It means accepting responsibility for where you are. And that's a weight most people would rather avoid. So they procrastinate. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect amount of knowledge, the perfect market conditions. But perfection is just procrastination in disguise. And while they wait, time slips away. Compounding works its magic for someone else. Opportunity knocks on a different door. The consumer mindset. Walk into any shopping mall on a Saturday afternoon and you'll see wealth being destroyed in real time. Not dramatically, not with fireworks or crashes, but quietly, transaction by transaction. A new phone when the old one works fine. Designer clothes to impress people who don't care. A car lease that eats 30% of take-home pay. These aren't necessarily bad people making these choices. They're people trapped in a consumer mindset. A mindset that whispers a dangerous lie. Spending equals success. We've been conditioned to believe that having money means spending money. That the markers of success are visible, tangible, expensive. But here's what nobody tells you. Every dollar you spend on fleeting luxury is a dollar that will never work for you. It will never compound. It will never generate passive income. It will never buy you freedom. Instead, it buys you a momentary feeling, a small hit of dopamine, a brief sense of accomplishment that fades before you've even left the store. The truly wealthy understand something fundamental. They see money differently, not as something to be spent, but as something to be deployed. Not as a way to signal status, but as a tool to build freedom. While the masses are buying things they don't need with money they don't have, the wealthy are buying assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, things that grow, things that work while they sleep, things that compound over decades. The blame game. There's a story people tell themselves about why they're not wealthy. It goes something like this. The economy is rigged. The government takes too much in taxes. My boss won't give me a raise. I didn't have the right opportunities. My parents didn't teach me about money. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Some of these things might even be partially true, but they're also completely irrelevant to your future. Blaming external factors is the most expensive habit you'll ever have, because every moment spent blaming is a moment not spent building. Every excuse is permission to stay exactly where you are. The people who build wealth don't waste energy on blame. They don't wait for permission. They don't need perfect conditions. They take ownership, complete, uncomfortable, liberating ownership of their financial future. This doesn't mean ignoring real systemic challenges. It means refusing to let those challenges define your outcome. It means accepting that, fair or not, your financial future is your responsibility. No one is coming to save you. No policy change will suddenly make you wealthy. No inheritance will fall from the sky. The only person who can change your financial trajectory is you. And that realization, as heavy as it feels, is also the most empowering thing you'll ever accept. The education gap. If you wanted to become a doctor, you'd study medicine for years. An engineer, years of education. A lawyer, even more years of intensive study. But somehow, when it comes to money, something that will impact every single day of your life, most people spend 0 hours learning. They graduate from school knowing calculus and the periodic table, but have no idea how compound interest works. They can recite historical dates, but don't understand the difference between an asset and a liability. This ignorance isn't accidental. Financial education isn't taught in most schools. And that gap, that vast empty space where financial knowledge should be, is where wealth goes to die. Because here's the thing about building wealth. It's not complicated. It's not reserved for people with finance degrees or special insider knowledge. The principles are actually quite simple. Spend less than you earn. Invest the difference consistently. Let compound interest work over decades. Avoid debt on depreciating assets. Build multiple income streams. That's it. That's the formula. But simple doesn't mean easy. And knowing these principles intellectually is very different from implementing them consistently. Most people know they should save more. They know they should invest, but they don't. Because knowledge without action is just expensive entertainment. The people who build wealth are obsessive learners. They read books, they listen to podcasts, they study successful investors, they continuously upgrade their financial education. And then, critically, they act on what they learn. Speaking of books, if you're serious about transforming your relationship with money, you need to read Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin and Joe Dominguez. This book completely changed how I think about finances and what money actually represents in our lives. I've linked it in the description below, and I genuinely believe it's one of the most important finance books you can read. Get it from Amazon, read it, and apply its principles. It's not just theory. It's a practical roadmap to financial independence. The compounding catastrophe. Imagine two friends, both 25 years old. Sarah decides to invest $500 per month starting immediately. James decides he'll start when he's 35, after he's enjoyed his youth and bought some nice things. Both invest until they're 65. Both get the same 8% average annual return. Sarah invests for 40 years. James invests for 30 years. At 65, Sarah has approximately $1.74 million. James has approximately $745,000. Sarah invested a total of $240,000 of her own money. James invested $180,000. Sarah's 10-year head start created an extra $1 million. That's the power of compounding. And that's what most people miss out on completely. Not because they don't understand compounding. Everyone nods along when they hear about it, but because they delay, they wait. They tell themselves they'll start investing when they earn more, when they've paid off this debt, when they feel more financially stable. But those goalposts keep moving. And every year of delay costs exponentially more than people realize. The money you don't invest in your 20s would have been worth 4 times as much by your 60s. The investment you skip in your 30s would have tripled by retirement. Time is the most powerful force in wealth building, and it's the one thing you can never get back. The mindset divide. Here's a fascinating observation. When you ask wealthy people why they're successful, they talk about habits, decisions, discipline, systems they've built, principles they follow. When you ask people struggling financially why they're not wealthy, they talk about luck, circumstances, breaks they didn't get, opportunities they missed. Same question, completely different frameworks for understanding the world. This isn't about invalidating real challenges or pretending privilege doesn't exist. It's about recognizing a fundamental pattern. The wealthy see wealth as something they create through consistent action. Others see wealth as something that happens to lucky people. And that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if you believe wealth is about luck, why bother trying? Why save aggressively? Why invest consistently? Why delay gratification? You're just waiting for your lucky break. But here's what actually separates the wealthy from everyone else. It's not intelligence. Some of the smartest people are broke. It's not hard work. Plenty of people work multiple jobs and still struggle. It's financial savvy combined with discipline, combined with patience. It's understanding that wealth is built slowly through compound decisions over decades. It's having the self-control to invest money instead of spending it. It's creating assets instead of just earning a paycheck. The psychological traps. Let's talk about fear. Not the obvious kind, like fear of poverty, but the subtle kind that keeps people stuck. There's the fear of losing, which is actually stronger than the desire to gain. Studies show people feel the pain of losing $100 more intensely than the pleasure of gaining $100. This fear keeps people in savings accounts earning 0.5%, while inflation erodes their purchasing power at 3%. They're losing money safely. Then there's comfort debt. The small luxuries people buy to make their current situation more bearable. The streaming subscriptions, the daily coffee shop visits, the weekend shopping trips, none of these are significant individually. But together, they create a pattern. Trading long-term freedom for short-term comfort. $10 here, $50 there, $200 per month on things that provide momentary pleasure, but build zero wealth. Over a decade, that's potentially $100,000 not invested. Over 3 decades, that's potentially $1 million of lost wealth. Most people are trapped trading time for money without any leverage. They work 40, 50, 60 hours per week, and their income is directly tied to those hours. They build no systems, create no assets, develop no scalable income streams. So their earning potential has a ceiling. The ceiling of how many hours they can physically work. Meanwhile, the wealthy build leverage. They create businesses that generate income without their direct time. They invest in assets that appreciate and produce cash flow. They use capital to make money instead of just hours. The path to the 10%. So how do you actually build wealth? How do you become part of the 10%? It starts with ownership, complete ownership of your financial future. No more blaming, no more waiting, no more excuses. You accept that where you are is where you are, and where you go from here is entirely your responsibility. Then you create a plan. Not a vague intention to save more or invest someday. An actual plan with specific numbers and specific timelines. How much will you invest each month? What percentage of your income? Where will it go? What's your target net worth in 5 years? 10 years? 20 years? Without a plan, you're just hoping, and hope is not a financial strategy. You start investing immediately, not tomorrow, not next month, today, even if it's small, even if it feels insignificant. Because the habit matters more than the amount at first, and time matters more than anything. Open that brokerage account, set up automatic transfers, make investing as effortless as possible so future you doesn't have to rely on motivation or discipline. You become obsessed with financial education. You read books. You listen to podcasts during your commute. You study how compound interest works. You learn about index funds and real estate and tax-advantaged accounts. You understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. You surround yourself with people who are also building wealth, because your environment shapes your decisions more than you realize. If everyone around you is spending and consuming, you'll spend and consume. If everyone around you is investing and building, you'll invest and build. You practice delayed gratification like it's a skill, because it is. Every time you choose not to buy something unnecessary, you're strengthening this muscle. Every time you invest instead of spend, you're voting for your future self over your present self. This isn't about deprivation. It's about being clear on what you actually value. Do you value the new car or the freedom that comes from having $1 million invested? Do you value the designer clothes or the ability to retire at 50? You can't have both. Choose deliberately. You build leverage. You invest in assets that grow without your time. You create systems that generate income while you sleep. You use other people's capital, other people's time, other people's skills to multiply your results. You stop thinking like an employee trading hours for dollars and start thinking like an investor deploying capital for returns. Most importantly, you evolve your thinking. You upgrade your beliefs about money and risk and what's possible. You stop seeing wealth as something that happens to other people and start seeing it as something you create through consistent action. You embrace calculated risks instead of staying safely broke. You value learning over being right. You play the long game when everyone around you is optimizing for the short term. The choice is yours. The gap between the 10% who build wealth and the 90% who don't isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even opportunity. It's a series of small decisions made consistently over decades. It's choosing to invest instead of spend, to learn instead of assume, to plan instead of drift, to take ownership instead of blame, to delay gratification instead of seeking comfort, to think long-term instead of reacting short-term. You have everything you need to start building wealth right now. You don't need to earn more first, though more income helps. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions. You don't need special knowledge or insider connections. You just need to start, to commit, to stay consistent even when it's boring. Even when your investments go down, even when your friends are buying things and you're buying assets. The next 10 years are going to pass whether you build wealth or not. Whether you invest consistently or spend it all. Whether you educate yourself financially or remain ignorant. 10 years from now, you'll be somewhere. The only question is where. Will you look back with regret at another decade of financial drift? Or will you look back with pride at the wealth you've built, the habits you've formed, the future you've secured? The choice has always been yours. The question is, what will you choose?